Tom Munson here, and I'm Chief Conversationalist as well as Town Crier and Community Builder at OurNet, the community-focused social network. And we've got a new project, which is The Message, where we invite somebody on. If I share my screen now, you'll get a better idea of this. It's The Message. So I'm talking to people to find out who they are, who their audience is, and what their specific message is. And today I'm delighted to have with me the OBG, Cedric Edwards in London. I'm in Portugal. Hey, Cedric.
Hi, Carl. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
And before we go any further, for people who might not know, and if it's safe to say, what does OBG stand for?
No one knows at the moment. There's just me and two other people. So I said I'm going to have a competition online soon on the show. And if anyone guesses it, then I'll give them a small prize. But some people have guessed it. I've not told them they were right yet because the competition hasn't started. But the belligerent is very common.
Okay, well, so to give you a bit of context, I'm a big fan of your work. It's the OBG show that you do, and you go onto Facebook Live, really, don't you, with your incredible home video setup, and you just talk. And I was thinking to myself, why is it I find what Cedric's doing so attractive and fun and compelling? And I couldn't really understand it. But I mean, certainly the mix I'm getting is that you've got an amount of certainty, I think, which is good in a man. Yeah. But also, but very open-minded as well. And it's, for me, that's really fascinating to have somebody who, puts ideas forward and also has an open mind in which to, and a space, because that's what you're doing. You're creating a space online, aren't you, in which to talk about them. And I really like that combination. So thank you for doing what you're doing, and thanks for joining us to talk today. And we've covered who you are, I think, or have we? I mean, does that sum up who you are for the time being?
Well, it's what you see. You're talking about what you see, I guess, and I'm not trying to tell anything today. So, I'm grateful for your kind words, and it's really nice to hear how I'm being observed by someone else. And once again, I take these things with a pinch of salt and with respect to you, because some people tell me what I am and what I rather, say, well, that's what you see. And at first I got a lot of truthers coming on because I don't know if you know Santa Spinaci.
No, I'm not familiar with that name.
Theology. Very big in the worldwide, one of those truthful guys. He's very, very good, very in-depth. He links the Phoenicians to the Pope and to the chakras in the body and the planets and so on, Mr. Astrotheology. But he liked one of my videos because I've always been a fan of his. I've been listening to him for 7 years, never spoken to him, or he doesn't even know who I am, but he found my video, posted it on his site. I got thousands of views, my first 2,000 views video, and I got a lot of flat earthers on. People telling me who I am and what I am, and I bet people said. So I just stopped making those videos, so that those people would maybe go away, and I could maybe attract a different audience. I want a mixed audience anyway, but I don't just want one kind. Interesting.
I should say at this point, really, that the views you're hearing here. I mean, I'm not saying this disclaimer out of fear. I'm saying it for the opposite reason, really. The views you're going to hear today, I'm not speaking for OurNet, I'm speaking in it. And that's what I think is important here, is that you and I are individuals sharing our views. And my invitation is to other people to do the same thing. So I'm not endeavoring here to tell you what OurNet is about, except to invite you, Cedric, and anyone else to come into the space and be heard and say your piece, because I think that's what's really important. I think to me, that seems like what you're doing, Cedric. You're providing the space, the platform, you're opening up the conversation, you're welcoming to people, you do a bit of tough love on them sometimes. It's a real good mix of how you respond to people. So for the purposes of this particular conversation, what would you say is your audience for what you're trying to say?
Well, I don't know who my audience are. What I do is I spoke the other day on the show about a party that I did in Finsbury Park in North London. I called it Offline in the Park. This was 7 years ago now. But I just invited everyone on Facebook on a whim, maybe 6 weeks in advance, and said, just come along, bring what you want to see. And my mind's always worked like this. It's always about bringing people in and saying we'll create whatever we create when we're there. And what a friend of mine said to me, wow, I almost cried on the day. I was choked up because my sisters came with their kids. And they said, you've got such a diverse group of friends. And I noticed it for the first time. I kind of was aware of it, but it hit me. I'll get to the point. What it is that I've got friends who are 13 years old to 80 years old, of every kind of race, nationality, religion, genre, is that the word? Punks, skinheads and so on, goths. And I realized that rather than me have one group of friends, I want to be friends with everybody, and I want them to be friends with each other. So I like putting people together. So with the show, I'm doing it in the same vein. I don't actually know what the audience is. I'm not aiming for a particular audience. The audience is people.
Amazing. Yeah, great. I love that. And it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because in marketing, they always say, never say it's for everybody, because, you know, there's no segmentation or no focus. But I get a real sense of what you're talking about. You know, that sort of diversity of audience. Tricky word, diversity, isn't it? But I get it, and I'd like to see myself in much the same way, and I'd like to see OurNet like that as well, as a very open and diverse context space for people to have conversations.
Well, we're being brave, I like to say, if I can, you know,
go on, please do, yeah.
You know, brave move by the both of us, because when I started this off, typically I get an idea, I'm looking at things, I'm taking everything in, I thought, I'm going to do a show. And I told everyone, I bought a cheap video camera, I said, listen, I'm going to do a show, I'm building it. And I said, I'll do it in 1 year. It took me 1 year, you know, 11 months in total. And I was trying to do them live at the time, but I just wasn't equipped. Now, what I said in the end is, I'm not going to get good and then deliver. I'm going to do it live. So I'm still testing my sound every show.
Perfect.
You know, like graphics and even the ideas. You know, as I said earlier, as we were talking, someone said something. Why are people so angry? I thought, I can do a show about that, you know, so I just sit there and roll them off. But the point here is that people say, don't spread yourself thin. You know, just choose one idea, as you said about marketing people, and do that. And I said, no, because I'm not that kind of person anyway, naturally. So why would I suddenly want to only talk about, you know, racehorses? I like picking the odd words. And what I'm trying to build is in two things. One, I said, right, I'm going to talk about physics. These are the areas I've studied all my life, and I like to think I'm good at physics, maths, computing. They're my main three areas, philosophy and psychology as well.
Is that all?
No, and you know, it's like yourself. We're old. That's why some people trying to go, oh, you do a lot. I sound 55, you know. So what I thought is, I'll build a whole area, do like 20 physics videos, 20 maths, 20 music, 20 science, 20, you know, like the other, and just keep building and building. And in the end, people can see it's, wow, this guy can do many things. And I'm not trying to communicate to one type of people. There are people who like my science. Like, oh, they always tune into the OBG show to watch the science. The others for the maths, the others for the philosophy, the others just for the freestyle, like, which is a kind of crazy side of me. So I think to myself, I'm not going to focus on one avenue. It's just a show, and it's a show about the people, by the people, for the people.
Through the OBG portal, I think, because there is something about you as well, and I think that's what comes across and what's attractive to people. But I also see how people want to pigeonhole, don't they? They want to say, oh yeah, that's the guy who talks about flat earth, and then just have you in that box. And it's almost a reason either to listen or not to listen, rather than picking up on the nuances and the depth that's possible, if people are just a little bit more open-minded than that.
Well, I find that as well. It's the same. To go back to what you said about the flat earth, I always talk about the flat earth, but I see it as a philosophical thing that, you know, it's my earth's flat. I've never seen a round earth, you know, no matter where I look, only what I've been told. And I don't believe everything that I've been told. So I say, you know, my earth's flat, your earth's flat. It's like, if you want to think beyond that, it should be a good reason, like you're going into space or something, but it really doesn't matter. And a lot of people try to label me with that, and they still do. Oh, you're that flat earther guy.
Of course they will.
Flat earth. And I'm like, I've never ever said the earth's flat. Why would you say that? And as you just said, they're not listening. They're trying to pigeonhole you, and it's safer for people. And it's not a negative, really. We're humans. We don't want to take too much on all the time.
Sure, and that's one of those heretical spaces currently, isn't it? So I think it's almost to be expected in there, isn't it? There are a number of subjects that push the buttons, the hot buttons. And
go ahead, sorry.
No, and I was thinking, so we've dealt to some extent there with your audience, which is everybody in a sense, you know, a oneness audience, a uniting principle by the sound of it. And I know you've got theories, you know, and ideas and opinions about oneness as well. But your message then, if you have one, and then I can see this is difficult because you've got lots of messages, but is there an essential message that you're wanting to convey?
Yes, I reckon.
Okay,
but this is me just answering the question now, because I like to think, I think really, really fast. It's a kind of blessing and a curse. So I don't have a message. I don't sit there and think, right, this is what I'm trying to be. But now that I think about it, I just want to tell everyone to keep it simple and to be you know, honest And to me, that's all it is. At the end of the day, I could be talking about shoes, but I always talk about love. I could be talking about, like drinking from the, a glass, and it doesn't have to be the right glass. Someone says to me, "Oh, you're drinking wine out of, this glass," and I'm like,
"How dare you?"
Matter. It really doesn't matter. And so I want people to understand and love themselves and know themselves. I think you may see that as a common theme when I'm talking about telling people that they can be strong and they are strong.
Yeah.
And I think that's the message really about about our humanity and our kindness to ourselves. No matter what I deliver, I think that's always at the core.
Love it. Totally love that message personally, on a personal level. And do you see that as something of these times? Well, obviously it has to be these times because you are speaking in this moment now, but within our common conversation in our culture, do you think that's an important message at the moment and something that people just aren't getting and maybe need to hear?
I think it's an age-old message. I think it's always been there, but with all interference and the noise that we get, I call it like noise pollution and so on, it gets buried. It keeps getting lost, or hidden. It's never going to get lost. And I think someone like me who's looked at people from the past and stood on the shoulders of giants, I realised, wow, all these people that I admire, I respect everybody, but I definitely admire some more than others. I think there's this thread running through them all, and I think I've got it. And then I think, oh, I'm not special like they are. Everybody's that special, but some people just can't see it. So I'm kind of voicing it and hoping, right, there was all these people before us. I could run the name of lists off, but I won't. And I'm consider myself to be like one of these people. So I'm going to talk as they do. And hopefully some people listen and take it on board and understand that they're also like me, who are like those people. And we're all just wonderful people.
Yeah, you totally get that. And someone is on my radar with that same sort of thought is Russell Brand at the moment, because he's grown up in a way, isn't he, in front of everybody? Like, we're all growing up all the time. I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean he needed to grow up, but that he's chosen to do it in the limelight. And where he's at the moment, he seems to have had his recovery journey, and now he's talking more generally about how recovery doesn't finish, and that how it's not just to do with addiction, it's to do with what it is to be human. And yes, that's why it came to mind when you were just talking there. It's like the uncovery or recovery of what we might really be about, which is love and connecting to each other. And I love what he's doing with that, because he's taken it from what looks like everyone stigmatizing him as a recovering addict into actually, no, everyone, this is everyone's journey if they want it. That it's the uncovery and recovery of what might be true about us all.
Well, I kind of fell out of love with him for a while, and a lot of people thought I didn't like him. I just said some stuff about him, when he was really popular. And as I explained to him, that's always projection, and like some form of envy in a way as well. And all I felt at the time, because I've dealt with it now. In fact, I was talking to someone just a few days ago. I said, I want to write to him. I'm going to ask if he's going to do an interview with just a regular guy sort of thing. And he has a message in there. I think the difficulty for a lot of us with Russell Brand, just my view, is, as you said, he grew up in public. He put himself out on the stage. And when you watch someone all the time and every day, you can see all the bad bits about them. And then we end up not liking them. It's very easy to do that. I get a lot of it. I'm always front and center so people can see all the mistakes I make. Oh, you just contradicted yourself. It's a very common one. I'm like, I contradict myself. It's no biggie. Do you know what I mean? It's like, don't get so excited. So with him at the time, there was the anonymous movement, which was, about, which I'm still suspicious of. And he kind of tried to jump on it in a sense. This is what I felt anyway. And they told him to sod off, basically. And that kind of riled me, because it was almost like, look, we've all got our own journey. So no matter what you do and how I view it, is what it is. But at the same time, my reaction is going to be what it is, what it is. And he was writing his new book at the time, and I felt that maybe he was looking for every kind of vehicle for publicity for the book. I don't know if I was ever right or wrong on that. And I kind of started saying some negative things, like in his direction. But I kind of grew out of it and thought to myself, oh, I like him. He's a regular lad. He's just this ordinary human being. He's mad. He was dead funny when he was doing stand-up as well. I liked his stuff. And he's still out there doing it. If anything, people just find it difficult to understand him because he's very wordy. I'm very wordy, but I think the because he's meant to be a regular like Essex boy or whatever, I think he's from Essex, his vocabulary is quite higher level than the standard comprehensive school boy. So those people who don't like him, a lot of them just don't understand him, I think.
Well, I think it's really interesting what he's doing. But this is about you rather than him. And I think we basically covered the message, who you are and who your audience might be, and the general message to them.
Yeah.
How do people hear that? How and when are you going to be every day on Facebook Live? Do you think ultimately?
I think so. Yesterday, Christ, this is becoming an addiction because I spend a lot of time, here. This is where I do all my creativity and so on in this room. And I'm sat there and the camera's dead in front of me. And I'll just be sitting there and I'll be writing something or reading. And suddenly I'll go like, oh, that's an interesting idea. And I just want to turn the camera on and talk about it to everybody. So I think I'm moving towards, well, that was my plan, actually. I said I want to pull people away from the mainstream for 10 minutes at least, every day. And then I feel that this is what the show's achieved. So I'm moving towards either a 5-day week so I can take time off, and maybe eventually a 7-day week, even if it means someone else not necessarily fronting the show, even though I've offered that up. But have you ever heard of a show called Twit?
No.
This Week in Tech. It's more for the techies anyway. But there's a guy called Leo Laporte. The money's not important, but he's a self-made millionaire, kind of. That's what he's known as. He always talks about his money, actually. But he's called This Week in Tech. It's called Twit. But it's like an umbrella now for all of the companies under it. And where he used to host everything and do tech support online and do these shows, he's now got Twig, This Week in Google. Okay. He's got This Week in Security, Twist. He's got all of everything under the TWI banner. But what he's done now, he's broken it up and he's got loads of employees now. So someone else is fronting This Week in Google, someone else is fronting the other. And this is what I kind of want to build the model like. So I've got the OBG show, it's the umbrella for everything, but then you may have fashion. And someone, but under my guidelines, in a sense of you're not just going off and breaking off and doing your own thing. It has to have that kind of flavour.
Shared ethic.
Yes, the shared ethic. And so I want to go to like 5-7 days a week, so it becomes a thing, and people are always tuning into the OBG, because at the end of the day, I don't want to sit there talking about buying expensive garments only. I'm going to talk about the love and the passion of making clothes, and that would be an OBG ethic, rather than just beautiful colours and high prices. Yeah,
and that cable channel, whose name escapes me now, but like you said, there's only one of these left, and it used to be 50 quid, now it's 25. Get your credit card out now. I don't think the OBG show's going that way. How do people catch you? Where can people find you?
My name's Cedric Edwards. I'm on Facebook as Cedric.Edwards. If you do Facebook /Cedric.Edwards. I'm also on YouTube as OBG Chat. That's OBG Space Chat, and Chat OBG on Instagram. And I'm just trying to develop the other platforms, but I'm doing it very slowly, one step at a time, because I've got a plan. And my actual plan is to interview Edward Snowden in 2 years' time. So I've got 1 year and 9 months left to do that.
All right, we need to do the paperwork on us signing you up for the exclusive on OurNet for that one.
Okay, it's contactable. Joe Rogan interviewed him, didn't he?
I'm sure it's doable. He's in Russia, right? They got Zoom in Russia.
Yeah, he's been on TED. He's been on Joe Rogan.
He was at Web Summit as well. Right? He opened up Web Summit. I was at Web Summit in Lisbon, and he came through
he's open, and obviously. Yeah. I think my angle is this. I've been successful in everything I do. When I say successful, I don't measure it in the point of like stature. What I mean is I have a goal and I'll achieve it. And I'm like, you know what? I have to go down that kind of poor man begging thing. But rather than me saying I'm this multinational company, a well-known company, I want to be big enough that I've done 100 interviews by then or so. And then I'll say, look, my show's a regular show. It's not TED. It's not Joe Rogan. It's just a regular guy, a show about ordinary people. Would you come and talk to me? And he'll say yes.
Looking forward to it already.
Thank you.
Cheers, Cedric. I really appreciate you taking some time out to talk to me today.
Thank you for taking the time and having me on your show. Best of luck.